Hi, this is James from IELTS United, and we are continuing to work through the IELTS test books. This is test book number 9. We are on Test 2, Listening, Section 2. If you want to listen to the previous section, click here. As always, this is a new test for me. I have not seen this test before, and I have not listened to the audio before. So we will work through together. I will explain how I'm thinking about the test, and hopefully you will learn some useful tips and tricks to help you improve your band score in IELTS listening. Let's start.
You will hear a man giving a talk to new members of a wildlife club in the south of England. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 13.
Okay, so we have some time to look at the questions here. Let's see what we have. Complete the table below. Okay, so it's a table. Write no more than 3 words for each answer. That's really important to remember. So no more than 3 words. Parks and open spaces. Okay, so we're thinking about outdoor recreational areas. And so we have the name of the place of particular interest, so why that place is interesting, and open. So when is it open? When can you go there? The first place is Halland Common. It's the source of the River Ouse. Okay, so the River Ouse starts there, and it's open 24 hours per day, so it's always open. Holt Island is the second place, and there are many different something there. So what could be on the island that could be interesting? Many different species of animals, many different things to do, could be different activities, things to see. Okay, so we're listening out for plural noun of some kind, and it's open between, and so this is either going to be a time between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m, or it could be a date. Longfield Country Park is the third place of interest, and it's interesting because there's a reconstruction of a 2,000-year-old something with activities for children. So a reconstruction means that they have rebuilt something that was very old. So a modern building, but copying something very old. 2,000 years old. So we need to think of what could be 2,000 years old. It could be a church, it could be some kind of area for ceremonies. So we're listening out for a type of thing that's very old. And finally, it's open during daylight hours. So let's listen.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 13.
Hello, I'm delighted to welcome you to our Wildlife Club and very pleased that you're interested in the countryside and the plants and creatures of this area. I think you'll be surprised at the variety we have here, even though we're not far from London. I'll start by telling you about some of the parks and open spaces nearby. One very pleasant place is Halland Common. This has been public land for hundreds of years, and what you'll find interesting is that the River Ouse, which flows into the sea 80 kilometres away, has its source in the common. There's an information board about the plants and animals you can see here, and, by the way, the common is accessible 24 hours a day. Then there's Holt Island, which is noted for its great range of trees. In the past, willows were grown here commercially for basket making, and this ancient craft has recently been reintroduced. The island is only open to the public from Friday to Sunday because it's quite small, and if there were people around every day, much of the wildlife would keep away. From there, it's just a short walk across the bridge to Longfield Country Park. Longfield has a modern replica of a farm from over 2,000 years ago. Children's activities are often arranged there, like bread making and face painting. The park is only open during daylight hours, so bear that in mind if you decide to go there.
Okay, so we were correct here. It was a plural noun, but it wasn't species of creatures, it was types of tree. Over here, it was not the time, but rather 2 different days. And down here, it wasn't a 2,000-year-old church which, now that I think about it, 2,000 years is very old for a church. It's too old. In fact, it was a 2,000-year-old farm, so that makes more sense. Okay, let's continue.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 14 to 20.
Okay, so we have to look at questions 14 to 20. So first let's look at 14 to 16. Choose the correct letter, so multiple choice question, very common in IELTS, A, B or C. So because there's only 3 options, that means we're just choosing one, and also it says or. Okay, so Longfield Park, question 14. As part of Monday's activity, visitors will prepare food with herbs, meet a well-known herbalist. Okay, so we're thinking about prepare food, so think of synonyms like cook. Think of, when it says herbs, we might be talking about plants. Meet a well-known, so famous, herbalist. Dye cloth with herbs. Okay, so thinking about dyeing. Dyeing cloth means changing its color. So we can think of synonyms like color, and we can also think that if we hear any names of colors like red, blue, or unusual names of colors like scarlet, then we will be listening for talk of dyeing the cloth. Okay, number 15. For the activity on Wednesday, only group bookings are accepted. So groups, so think of words related to groups. So words like together, bookings. Can you think of any synonyms for a booking? How about a reservation? B, visitors should book in advance. Okay, so in advance, what does that mean? Before they come. So if we hear the word before, then that's a clue. Visitors, what synonyms can you think of? Guests, perhaps. And if they should book in advance, think of what they can't do. They can't buy tickets on the day. Attendance is free. So again, think of what the opposite of being free is. There's no charge to go, to enter. Okay, so thinking of synonyms as well. And finally on 16, for the activity on Saturday, visitors should come in suitable clothing. Okay, so the clothes they wear might be described. Make sure they're able to stay for the whole day. And they should tell the rangers before the event what they wish to do. Okay, so again, in advance. Think about vocabulary that can help you. And then we've got 17 to 20. So label the map. All right, so we have a map here of Hinchingbrook Park. Write the correct letter A to I next to the questions 17 to 20. Okay, so if we look at our map, it's got A through I, and then 17 through 20, these are the different places. Bird hide, so a place you can watch birds from. A hide is where you can, well, where you can hide, be invisible when you look at nature. A dog walking area, a flower garden, so a place with lots of flowers, and a wooded area, so something like a small forest. And the IELTS tape will be in this order. So the bird hide will be mentioned first, then the dog walking area, then the flower garden and the wooded area. And we will have to identify which letter matches with those places. Okay, so let's go back and listen to the tape.
Now listen and answer questions 14 to 20.
Longfield Park has a programme of activities throughout the year, and to give you a sample, this is what's happening in the next few days. On Monday, you can learn about herbs and how they've been used over the centuries. You'll start with a tour of our herb garden, practice the technique of using them as colour dyes for cloth, and listen to an illustrated talk about their use in cooking and medicine. Then on Wednesday, you can join local experts to discover the variety of insects and birds that appear in the evening. We keep to a small number of people in the group, so if you want to go, you'll need to phone the park ranger a few days ahead. There's a small charge which you should pay when you turn up. I'm sure you're all keen to help with the practical task of looking after the park, so on Saturday you can join a working party. You'll have a choice of all sorts of activities, from planting hedges to picking up litter, so you'll be able to change from one to another when you feel like it. The rangers will be hard at work all day, but do come and join in, even for just a short while. One thing, though, is to make sure you're wearing something that you don't mind getting dirty or torn. And finally, I'd like to tell you about our new wildlife area, Hinchingbrook Park, which will be opened to the public next month. This slide doesn't really indicate how big it is, but anyway, you can see the 2 gates into the park and the main paths. As you can see, there's a lake in the northwest of the park with a bird hide to the west of it at the end of a path, so it'll be a nice, quiet place for watching the birds on the lake. Fairly close to where refreshments are available, there's a dog walking area in the southern part of the park, leading off from the path. And if you just want to sit and relax, you can go to the flower garden. That's the circular area on the map, surrounded by paths. And finally, there's a wooded area in the western section of the park between 2 paths. OK, that's enough from me, so let's get on and have a look.
That is the end of section 2.
Okay, so let's check our answers. The first answer was trees, and we had that right. Friday to Sunday, correct. Number 13, a farm. Yes, a farm. Moving on to number 14, as part of Monday's activity, they will dye cloths with herbs. It was C. Yes, it was C. So they did mention that there would be a talk, but they didn't say that it would be with a well-known herbalist. And they did mention herbs that were used as foods, but you would learn about them, not necessarily prepare them. Number 15, for the activity on Wednesday, visitors should book in advance. So that was B. And yes, that was B. And they did mention that there would be a small charge, so they told us it wasn't a C. For the activity on Saturday, visitors should come in suitable clothing, and let's make sure it's 16A. Yes, it was right, so that was clothing they don't mind getting dirty. Let's look now at the map. So number 17 was a bird hide. 17 is indeed a bird hide. That was going to be at the end of a path just to the west of the lake. Number 18 was a dog walking area, so that was I. And 18 was indeed I, so remember that was in the south, near the refreshments. Then you had the flower garden, F, 19F, so we had that right, and that was in the centre of the circular area. And then finally the wooded area, E, and that was in fact E, and we were told that that was between 2 paths to the west, so we had that right as well. Okay, so if you got many of those wrong, you might want to go back and listen again to the tape. You can turn on the subtitles on YouTube if you're watching this on a PC. This was IELTS Textbook 9, this was Test 2, and this was Listening Section 2. So if you want to go back and listen to Section 1, you can click here. And if you want to watch the next section, Section 3, you can click here. And don't forget that you can join us on Facebook to receive free resources and help from other teachers and students doing the IELTS exam. Find us by searching on Facebook IELTS United, or go to facebook.com/groups/IELTS United. Good luck with your revision and good luck with the IELTS exam.